Big Sills! It's funny. Me and Tone sit here and we just start talking sports, other things, and it's so good to be around people that have a great passion. And that's why you guys show up. Thank you guys so much. I see Devin White's name. I'm going to get to that here in a minute. Man, we're 2 weeks out to the NFL draft. And I can't remember in my time, 30 plus years in broadcasting, where the NFL dominates every single week, the front page. Those numbers that you're seeing on YouTube, on what they're going to charge, do you understand how that helped shows like mine, JAKIB Sports, that the NFL's in the streaming business now? It's so awesome. It shows you how the NFL is looking at other avenues to make money besides gambling. Really amazing stuff. We appreciate everybody coming aboard. By the way, in hour number 3, one of my favorite people, and I have known for over 20 years, Chris Landry, is going to break down the 2023 NFL draft for the Philadelphia Eagles and your favorite team. We're going to do that in hour number 3. I've got 2 suggestions here out of the gate before we get to the topics. Who is the one player that the Eagles could sign right now that would help them win the Super Bowl? One player could help the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl. Who is that player? Do you know? One player who could make the biggest impact on their football team. Who is it? Derrick Henry, D-Hop, Zeke. Got to think out of the box. Got to think out of the box. There's one player who could help them win the Super Bowl. I'm going to tell you who it is right now. Matt Araiza. Deshaun Watson was cleared. He's playing. As a matter of fact, he got a raise, was cleared of charges. I see that he's got another deposition that he's got to get in front of. Matt Araiza can change the field for you. He could make your special teams the best special teams unit in the league. I watched him kick at San Diego State. Spectacular. Spectacular. Nasty goes, Matt Araiza is not Deshaun Watson. To the Eagles, he would be. That guy could help you win a Super Bowl. Your special teams are atrocious. Now, some of you will go like this. Well, Sills, what about his? He was cleared. Deshaun Watson was cleared. Deshaun Watson's back in the league. Joe Mixon, who's just now facing new charges, broke a woman's jaw. Remember something here. Inviting him over to your house for dinner is one thing. Putting him on a football team's another. You put Vic on your team. You had no problem with Michael Vick. Michael Vick went to Leavenworth, was found guilty. And you were cool with that. Today's National Pet Day. Michael Vick murdered animals, went to prison for it. Almost destroyed his, and probably did destroy a lot of what he was. Matt Araiza has been cleared. Would you put him on your team? Would you put him on your team? He's been cleared. That guy could help you win a Super Bowl. Shit, that guy could probably help a bunch of teams win the Super Bowl. Me too. Like the NFL really gives a shit about that. I know the story at San Diego State. I know the whole allegations, the sexual misconduct. I get it. I've read this. I lived it. I know the people involved with it. You know what's funny? The head football coach kept him on the team. The school kept him on scholarship. They let him kick through the entire fall that year. J.D. Wicker, the athletic director, he didn't give a shit. They just wanted to win ball games. And when he graduated, story came out when he was with the Bills. I watched him kick for the exhibition season in Buffalo. That dude was changing field position every time he kicked the ball. It was incredible. Should the Eagles bring him in? You need a punter. You need a punter. If the National Football League clears Deshaun Watson, I don't have a problem bringing Matt Araiza in. But Sills, what about, again, you're making it, if that's my business, I'm not bringing him in. I don't run the NFL. You and me have a sense of decency. We're not doing that. The NFL doesn't. They don't give a crap about that stuff. That's not what the league is. So you got to separate yourself from the NFL. Just because you're a good dude and you wouldn't do it doesn't mean the league won't. Remember that. See, what you guys do is you put your own morality in decision-making what the NFL does. That's not how the NFL thinks. They don't think about decency. They think, what can help you win a football game? Remember something with Deshaun Watson. I told you this a couple weeks ago. The National Football League has more of a problem with his guaranteed contract than his misconduct. That's a fact. Hey, look at JM. Saints aren't saying anything about, you got it, Alvin Kamara. Who cares about off-the-field crap? Hey, isn't it funny? If this guy might see some jail time, Alvin Kamara. Saints didn't cut him. Why? He's a good player. Imagine that. He's not good character. He's a good player. Every team has an issue like that. How about the way Andy Reid and that coaching staff was drinking and all that stuff at the complex, which led to an unfortunate situation with his son? That got pushed to the side. Let's not make it sound like here the NFL practices morality here. Matt Araiza can help you win a Super, not a game, a Super Bowl. Talent beats character every day of the week. Saddest thing Tone's ever said, but probably the most accurate thing he's ever said. Absolutely. You're in my house, character matters. NFL's house, it doesn't. Sign Matt Araiza. Why do you care? As an Eagle fan, did you really care when you signed Vic? You were just looking to win ball games. Who cared to kill dogs? Hey, by the way, for the record, I think Michael Vick is doing everything in his power to be a better dude. And he was given a second opportunity. Shit, he's an analyst now for Fox Sports. Think of that for a minute. He's an analyst for Fox Sports, and he murdered dogs. Urban Liar is an analyst for Fox Sports, and he harbored a wide receiver coach that was beating his wife. I mean, let's not get crazy here. Let's not get crazy. Hey, you and me have a different opinion of it. But we cover a sport that doesn't care about character. Hey, if you put Deshaun Watson in the league, everything else is open, isn't it? You got 27 to 30 people saying this guy had sexual misconduct. Did the league care? No, they gave him a raise. Matt Araiza was cleared of all charges. Why not put him on your team? What's the problem? What? The story's the problem? He's been cleared. Oh, I see. We pick and choose here. Right now, the guy's innocent. But in the court of public opinion, he's been convicted. But Deshaun Watson was convicted in the court of public opinion. He's in the league. That's probably because he's a quarterback. Matt Araiza could help the Eagles. He could help the Eagles. Could he not? Imagine that guy. I watched him kick. This guy consistently punts 70-yard punts. And with a defense that's going to be somewhat suspect this year. You're telling me you don't think that guy would win you important ball games? I think he's the only guy that's out there in free agency right now that could help the Eagles win a Super Bowl. He may be the only guy, free agency and in the draft, that could help you win a Super Bowl. Can you imagine if your special teams and your punt team, let's just say, got up into the middle of the pack? What do you think that Eagle team would look like? One play, flip the field position. And get this, say you have a 3 and out. Your punter comes in, puts them on the 4. Don't you want that on your team? And in the process, you hope he's who he says he is. Hey, is it controversial? Yeah. But so is the guaranteed $230 million to Deshaun Watson controversial. Is that something the Eagles would do? God, they have to be sitting there going, man, I'd love to sign this guy. I bet you there's 30 teams that like to sign that guy. But they're afraid. I'll tell you who would sign that guy. If he were alive today, Al Davis. He would sign that guy. He would totally sign that guy. I'm surprised Belichick hasn't signed him. If you signed Matt Araiza, you'd win the Super Bowl. But you won't. Just like you won't draft B.J. Robinson. You know why? There's some fear in it. I keep hearing people on the radio in Philadelphia keep doing this. I just don't see spending that kind of collateral at 10 for a running back. You're missing the point. Once again, the Eagles are a player away from winning the whole damn thing. You're not in a rebuild. If a holder could help you win the Super Bowl, would you draft him at 10? If that guy could help you win the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter what the pick is, the number. It matters how close they are. People are looking at the draft is part of the Eagles building the team. The draft is not going to matter if they win the Super Bowl or not. Depending, I said, there's 3 guys in the draft. We'll talk to Chris Landry later. Myles Murphy, the Iowa kid. These guys aren't going to help you win a Super Bowl. Yeah, but Sills, they'll help us. I don't care about 2025. I care about 2023. You know what the future of the Eagles is? 2023. You don't know what the team's going to look like, injuries, shit like that. You have no idea. You are where your feet are today. Matt Araiza could help you win the Super Bowl. Some go, Sills, would you put a guy with low character? I don't know he has low character. Was he in a bad situation? Absolutely. Is it ugly? Absolutely. Talk to the kid. Make your assessment then. Seriously, man, you brought Michael Vick in. You brought Vick in. Okay? You brought Vic in. Dude, that's where you always go with an organization. They gambled on Vic. It paid off, kind of. He wasn't Vic Atlanta, but he was pretty good. That wasn't Michael Vick Falcon, Michael Vick. Okay? Sills is on one today about a punter. Yeah, because that punter can help you win the Super Bowl. I would be on if it was a field goal placeholder because you guys are close to winning it. And Reyes goes, Vic did not win us a Super Bowl. Well, neither has Hurts. Are you under the impression that Jalen Hurts is a better player or will be a better player than Michael Vick? Pretty big statement. Michael Vick was electric. Michael Vick was the face of the NFL. Hurts will never be the face of the NFL. He'll never be the face of the NFL. It's cool that he'll be the face of the Eagles, though. Vic was the face of the league. Face of the league. Okay? He was. All right. Put that and think about Matt Araiza. That guy can help your team. God, we got a bunch of stuff to hit on. So Devin White has demanded a trade. He's 25 years old, wants a new contract. He came back because of Tom Brady had an opportunity to go into free agency and make a boatload of money. He's got a fifth-year option. Would you give the 30th pick up to Tampa to have a sign and trade with Devin White? You could have that guy in the middle of your football team. And this is something Howie's brilliant at. Devin White, Jakobi Dean. Who do you want playing Mike linebacker? Who do you want playing Mike linebacker? Jakobi Dean or Devin White? I'll take Devin White, Pro Bowler. The sure thing that Howie, this is made in heaven for Howie. Now, the fifth-year option deal is kind of the deal, too, here. Okay? Buccaneers don't want to trade him. He wants out. He wants out. Whew. Bucs need a quarterback. Would the Bucs go like this? Here's Devin White, 10th pick, and I'll give you a couple more draft picks. And I'll give you some draft picks this year and next year. Give me the 10th pick for Devin White. Devin White, I'd need your first-round pick, too. For the 10th pick? No, trade up, straight up. I don't know. I'm going to sit back and hang in there. Do you understand something about what Howie's done already? Howie's already been on the phone with everybody. Howie's got parameters of what it takes to go here, there, go over here, go there, go there. Because how many minutes do you have? What is it, 12 minutes to make a decision? These decisions have already been made. But again, the only thing you don't know, what's the unknown here? How the board's going to look at 10. You don't know what the board's going to look like at 10. So what you have to do is you have to have 17 different plans on what you're going to do at 10 if the board looks like this, and this. The only people that have the sure thing are the Carolina Panthers. They're the only team. Maybe the Texans have more of a sense too. As you get lower, you don't really know who you're taking. Obviously in the draft. So you sit there at 10 with options and what to do. So what's the sure? Hey, does Devin White help you win the Super Bowl? Yes. Does Myles Murphy? No. So if I can't have Jalen Carter or Will Anderson or maybe Tyree Wilson or Bijan, what do you do at 10? Trade down? Great. Probably an offensive lineman helps you more because it's helping Jalen. But once you start going to the other positions like defensive tackle, or you start going, look, here, let me just show you this too. When people say that the Eagles need defensive tackle help in the draft, there's no tackles in the draft. That's why they got the kid from New Orleans. And don't you remember what they did? Defense wasn't doing a very good job. What'd they do? They went to the ice cream stand. They got a couple guys that were on the street, brought them in, went from 22 to 16th in run defense. You could do it again. Bring the same guys back if you have to. Let them play half a season like they did a year ago. Why would I draft a defensive tackle in this draft when it's the shittiest? There's terrible DTs in this draft. Safeties suck. Running backs suck. Linebackers aren't great. You start to get up into the conversation, wide receivers, obviously, O-linemen, edge, and corners. Myles Murphy. How much did you give up for Devin White? What would you give up for him to make him a member of the Buccaneers or get him from the Buccaneers and put him on the Eagles? I'd give you the 30th pick. Okay, I'd give you the 30th pick. But that's all I'll give you. It's the 30th pick for him. 25-year-old linebacker? Put him in the middle of your defense? Shit, you don't have to worry about your linebacking core for the next decade. Isn't that worth the money? And you don't have to draft a position. And he could probably help Nakobe Dean come along. Carson goes, I think every day you're not our GM. Yeah, because your GM blows in the draft. Here's your record. You make it sound like you draft superstars. You do not on defense. You do not draft stars on defense. You've drafted 25 linebackers in 23 years, and all of them have pretty much sucked. And so this guy's telling me, hey, I trust Howie to draft a linebacker. Really? Where? Who's that guy? Who's the guy you land on? When you say Howie, the linebacker drafting GM, who's the guy you land on? Who's the guy you land on with DBs? Alito Shepherd. How many years ago was that? I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you, dude. Don't do something you're not good at. Now, I'll tell you what he's good at. He's good at making deals and trades and adding draft picks and adding draft choices. He's not good at drafting, especially on the defensive side of the football. He's not. This is not an opinion. You know, I heard somebody on one of the radio stations in Philly talking like Howie was Ozzie Newsome. I was laughing. Where are you getting that from? Who are your superstar players that you've drafted in 25 years? Fletcher, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat. Okay. Who else? You're fooling yourselves. I can't wait to bring this up with Chris Landry in hour 3. This track record. This is your track record. That's why the Devin White conversation makes more sense. Hey, how about this? What made more sense for the Eagles last year? Drafting a wide receiver or trading that first-round pick for A.J. Brown? I'll even give you the hindsight. What made more sense? The Eagles, who have drafted 25 wide receivers in 23 years and landed on 1, 2. Or do you think going and getting the sure thing and a 25-year-old A.J. Brown, what was in the best move, Mr. GMs? Howie drafting another Jalen Reagor or getting A.J. Brown? Obviously. And the guy had a career year in Philly. But some of you go, well, I don't know. You trust Howie to draft a wide receiver? You trust that organization to evaluate a wide receiver? We got Devontae right. Hey, man, a clock gets it right twice a day. Okay? A clock gets it right twice a day. Devin White makes sense. 30th pick. Again, there's parameters. He wants a new deal. It's a 5th-year option still on it. There'd have to be serious count. But hey, man, I would spend $10 million. Would you rather spend $10 million on Fletcher Cox or Devin White? What would you rather spend the money on? A 25-year-old linebacker who could be a mainstay for you, or a 33-year-old defensive tackle who's got half a tank of gasoline left? What would you rather spend the money on? Ask yourself that. Well, I like Fletcher. Who cares about the name on the back of the jersey? It's about the emblem and the Eagle team going forward. And keeping that roster. Wait till you hear the topics we have. Look at Carson goes, I'd rather have a 33-year-old Fletcher Cox. Hey, Carson, that's all I need to know about you now. Than a 25-year-old Super Bowl winning linebacker. Okay? You keep the fanning. You keep sitting in the upper deck, and you keep fanning, Carson. Good for you, man. Hey, you keep fanning. Yeah, but White wants a massive contract. Well, that's what happens when you get good players. And you have good players on your team. Okay? N91 goes, Cox is a Super Bowl winning DT. Yeah, he's 33. This guy's 25. It's like telling me DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, Sills, would you take DeAndre Hopkins over A.J. Brown? No, A.J.'s 25. It's the only reason, because D-Hop's a great ball player. A.J. Brown will never have the career DeAndre Hopkins has had, ever. He'll never have that career. But today, I would take A.J. Brown. He's younger. The years that DeAndre Hopkins has had, that's a number one guy. Like the guy in the league. I'm a hater. When I say that DeAndre Hopkins is a better career than A.J. Brown, DeAndre Hopkins' stats, according to Wikipedia, you actually believe that you think in your heart that you think that A.J. Brown will have a better career than DeAndre Hopkins? $15.72, $14.07, $13.48, $15.21, 111 catches, 115 catches, 115 catches, 102 catches. Let's see, his worst year was 76 catches for 12-10 when he played 15 or 16 ball games. Last year, he was on pace for 1,900 or 119 catches. He would have had a better year than AJ last year. Not sure what you're talking about. Best third down receiver in the NFL. By the way, I would take AJ. He's 25. Devin White, I'm taking because he's 25 and a Super Bowl linebacker. It would. Hey, Tone, think of this. Getting a guy like Devin White would be the equivalent of signing A.J. Brown, but on the defensive side. This guy's a small version of Tampa 2 and is a run stopper. And if you want to play that 34, you need that guy. Nakobe Dean, good luck. Hope he pans out. You pass on the guy who's it for a guy you're hoping pans out. Sills, this guy, I hope he plays. What? Me too. Good luck to you. Because your draft history has been special. Shit, the guy who just got a contract in Chicago wasn't even drafted in Philly. He was a UDFA, undrafted free agent. The guy they just upgraded. Hey, no. I want the third. So you'd rather have the 30th pick versus a 25-year-old Super Bowl linebacker. Yeah, but Sills, that's going to cost us. Hey, Super Bowls cost teams some money. You don't have Patrick Mahomes on your team. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Well, Hurts outplayed him. Let me tell you something. You take A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith off that team and Miles Sanders and 2 O-linemen, you're not making the playoffs. No, because the NFC sucks, you're making the playoffs, and that's it. You think you're going to be successful if A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Miles Sanders and 2 O-linemen are off that O-line? Where are you getting that from? That's what that kid in Kansas City did. He beat you with Juju Smith-Schuster. I couldn't even name the other guy. Who was their number 2 guy? Besides wide receiver. I know Kelsey's on the team. Who was the other guy? Oh, and some dude named Freddie Pacheco. Oh, wait, that's Ali's. That's the fight doctor. Some dude named Pacheco. Okay, let's get to the topics here. I'm pointing things out. Not to there's no bashing here. So wait a minute. Where did you get bashing when I said I think it's a good move to get Matt Araiza to help you win a Super Bowl and to sign a 25-year-old Super Bowl linebacker? How's that bashing the Eagles? How was that bashing the Eagles? By upgrading their – wait a minute. Putting Matt Araiza and putting Devin White on your team. You think that's talking shit on the Eagles? Where are you getting that? You put Matt Araiza and Devin White on your football team, you win the Super Bowl. The Eagles are this close. You're not the Jets. How are you getting bashing that? How are you getting that bashing by upgrading the roster? How are you getting that? Where are you? I've added 2 better players to your team. Sileo's bashing the Eagles. How? Oh, because you guys are under the impression he's a good drafter. Not one player on that football team last year that was drafted was an impact player. Not one. Usually, a guy who's drafted has some impact. None. Zero. Anya says that Ariza's not a game changer, even though he flips the field and field position. And that's why your punting team and that's why your special teams blows. And it reared its head in the Super Bowl. You imagine you got a punter that if you get a 3-and-out and you're 20, instead of having the shit kicker you have now, who puts the other team on the 35, this guy puts you inside the 10. You don't think that's game-changing? How don't you think that's game-changing? So you're saying, hey, it's cool we start on the 35 if we punt, versus a guy who could put you inside the 10-yard line. And you think that that's the same. How do you watch football games? It's kind of crazy. Okay? I mean, it's kind of crazy. You're talking real spice. We're going to make Eat what words? By saying that I'd rather have you have. So wait a minute. You would gamble on Nakobe Dean over Devin White. Why? When you don't have to. The Eagles didn't gamble last year. They could have easily drafted a wide receiver in the spot they were last year. Instead, they made a trade. They didn't want to gamble like you do. They went for the sure thing. Good for them. That's exactly how you. And by the way, that's his strength. Finding Bradbury, trading for Slay, getting Hardgrave. Do you understand your top 5 defensive players last year? They were free agents or trades. 4 of them. Oh, wait a minute. Hassan Reddick, free agent. Both corners, free agent. Linebackers, all free agents. Your top 6 players on that team last year were free agents, not drafts. Like you're making it. I mean, when you look at the Eagle defense and the history of the drafting of their defense, you have to go back to Buddy Ryan when they were drafting great players and had an eye for it. They don't have an eye for defense. They have an eye. They have an eye for pro personnel. They're really good at it. That's why I say with Devin White versus Nakobe Dean, there is no conversation. One guy's a perennial All-Pro, Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winner, and he's 3 years older than Nakobe Dean. But you want the guy who you hope turns out to be whatever. Oh, because he's cheaper too. Let's say Eagles do make a play for White. What number are you comfortable paying him? $10 million. I'm comfortable paying him $10, $12, $13 million. You know why? Because every year that'll pay off. Every single season that'll pay off that I don't have to address that position in the draft again. Maybe some depth later later because I got a Pro Bowler. If you knew you had a sure thing, would you pay a little extra to keep there for 10 years in a decade versus having to constantly do exactly what Howie has to do this year? He has to go back into free agent in the draft every freaking year and hope he strikes gold with linebacker play. Instead, you got a guy in there for the next 10 years where you don't even have to address the position. And he's your Mike linebacker. What do you think makes more sense? Having to go and get a guy who was a cast-off in Chicago and hope he plays well versus a guy you don't have to even talk about for the next decade? Chico goes, we can't afford him. Well, what makes you think over the next couple of years you're going to afford? Dude, if you want to run a 34, you can't run it with the crap linebackers you have now. That position is terrible on the Eagles. They're small, inexperienced, and the guy you got from Chicago was on the worst defense in the league. You got to put some people over there. And like I said, the Eagle roster's close. The Eagle roster's close. Hey, by the way, if you can't afford them, trade them. Trade them at 27 for draft picks. Aren't you trying to win the Super Bowl in 23? Why are you caring about 24 and 25? Who gives a shit about that? Let Howie worry about that. What doesn't the 2023 season matter? I want to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't care about 2025. That's those guys' responsibility to worry about that then. Do you actually think Jalen Hurts gives a shit about whether or not they could fit his money under the cap? You think Clutch Sports cares? This is about getting paid and financially responsible on keeping a team around him. I'm going to get to the topics here. Dude, as much as Jalen wants to give remember something. Hurts is not going to give them a break in money. He's going to give them a team-friendly deal that allows them. Remember something. You guys are under the guise here. He's taking less money. He's not. He's going to give them the vehicle to do what Patrick Mahomes does. Restructure contracts. That's his hometown discount. Okay? $20 million per season. White is still a game changer, though. $20 million's high. $20 million's high. $20 million's high. Do I think Devin White is a $20 million? Is he Roquan Smith and Warner? Hey, is he Roquan Smith and is he Warner? He's the number one inside linebacker in the National Football League. Boy, that's a big number. That's a big number. That's a big number. 20 million. Whew. Man. Yeah, but that's not the franchise tag. The franchise tag for an interior linebacker, if I'm not mistaken, it is 20. Tone, is it 18 or 20? Would you pay $20 million for the best linebacker in football? Inside. You would have the best linebacker in the game. You would have the best linebacker in the game. Would you pay for that at 25 years old? Tag is 20 right now. It's not a position. Get this. Isn't it funny? You got a guy right here that could help your football team win a Super Bowl too. And it's positions. Why are the Eagles so apprehensive on having players up the middle of their defense? They refuse to pay defensive tackles, I guess, linebackers and safeties. Right up the middle of the defense. Heart of the defense. They do it with paper cups and kite string. That's a big number, man. $20 million. All right, I got to close it up. Tone, would you pay 20 for the best inside linebacker in the NFL? Would you guys pay $20 million for the best linebacker in the National Football League inside? That includes Warner and that includes Roquan Smith. Would you want to have Fred Warner on your team? Would you want Fred Warner on your team? JM would rather have Nakobe. Okay. Anybody would. It's not stop bringing Nakobe Dean's name up. It's disrespectful to Devin White. Okay? You got to start first, kid. Guy like that changes your defense instantly. I would take the gamble. Screw it. No risk. No risk it, no biscuit, as my boy Bruce Arians says. You're damn right. I'd sign that guy, and I'd give him his $20 million. Then we go back and we restructure the contract, and he helps us too, and he's a main. Get this too, and look what one of the benchmarks on your team for the next decade. You got the best inside linebacker in National Football League. You got an up-and-coming wide receiver. Your left side of your football team is going to be there like Shell and Upshaw. You got a quarterback who's coming along and just getting better and better every day, not just every year. I'm with you. If that's me, I give the Buccaneers the 30th pick in the draft, and I take Devin White and put him on my football team to go win me a Super Bowl. Absolutely. It's worth it. It's worth it. And you don't have to worry. And get this. The position pays itself off because you have the best inside linebacker for the next decade. And he would probably be the best Mike linebacker you've had since Seth Joyner. He'd probably be the best inside linebacker you had since Seth. All right. It's funny that we go into this topic here. How many people believe Howie has to make a splash in the NFL draft to win a Super Bowl? You think Howie has to make a splash? Or do you think you can win the Super Bowl status quo right now? I don't. That team you have right now in that roster, you think you can win a Super Bowl? I do not. You couldn't last year and you got a lesser team now. How could you possibly say that? How could you say that you think you could win the Super Bowl when you have a lesser team? Pro Bowl guards gone. Pro Bowl running backs gone. Your linebackers are gone. A Pro Bowl caliber player in your defensive tackle position's gone. You're older at end. Safety position, I don't know. How could you say that? You can't with a straight face. Jalen will be better. That has nothing to do with a team. That has nothing to do with the team. Jalen could throw for tremendous yards. If your defense is giving up 40 points, it won't matter. It won't matter. You'll be losing games 40-39. Congratulations. Jalen had a great year and you missed the playoffs because your defense stinks with no depth on it. Oh, we're better. So, well, Jalen's better. Yet to be determined. We'll see. All things pointing correct. Okay. How many quarterbacks does Shanahan go through to make the NFL? Jesse, doesn't matter, though. He gets there. Do I think Howie has to make a splash? I think Howie has to do something to justify last year's pathetic draft. He got nothing out of last year. And I think he's got to do something. And let me combine both topics here. Last year's draft and this year's draft. Let me get to that one here in a minute. You've got to do something this year to quantify and justify last year. You overdrafted Davis. Dean never stepped on the field. I think you've got to do something to get. When are you going to draft a player that gives you impact? The last guy to do that is Devontae. Okay? Devin White has been the captain for 3 seasons in Tampa. And he's 25. I paid $20 million to go get him. And I give you the 30th pick. I'm not giving you any more than that. Okay? But I'm taking Devin White and putting him on my football team. He helps me win a Super Bowl. Okay? Myles Murphy does not. Okay? He does not. He's a character guy too. Put another character guy on your football team. The Eagles are spectacular at pro personnel. College personnel, not so good. They're just not good. You go get this kid. How many people believe he's got to do something? Now watch this. Say this happens. Here's the perfect scenario. Cam Jurgens turns into where there's not a drop-off from Sayamalo, and he absolutely, if they draft an offensive lineman and Cam Jurgens doesn't play, there's one more guy not out of last year's draft. Okay? Dean has to stay healthy. He has to show up. Davis has got to be better. And then what are you going to do in this year's draft? I mean, honestly, they've got to draft somebody. Trade back from 10, send 30 for White, A+ draft. Amen. Dude, trade back from 10. Think of that. Trade back from 10, send the 30th pick to Tampa for White, It's an A-plus 2 years in a row gambling move that Howie would be revered for. You put Devin White on that football team, people around the National Football League are going to be going like this. Holy shit, man. This guy must have the bat phone in the house. Every move he makes pans out. Not every draft pick he makes pans out. That's evident. But dude, the Slade move, the Bradbury move, the Gardner Johnson move, the Hassan Reddick move, those are not drafting. That organization is great at pro personnel. The Eagles are great at here's what they're superstars at. Finding O-linemen, developing and looking at those O-linemen and turning them into superstars, and pro personnel evaluation. Do you know what they do? They walk on the used car lot and go, that thing right there's only got 50,000 miles on it. That car could go for another 300,000 miles, and it's right now sitting there at $15,000. That car's a $50,000 car. Let's grab that. He's great at that. He's great at that. But when you have to go into the draft, and again, it's like throwing darts. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. And can you say that for a lot of teams? Yeah. But you say it more for the Eagles because they really don't. They're poor at linebacker, as we said, DBs, linebackers, even edge rushers. Not great. But they're great at pro personnel. Great at pro personnel. Finding Gardner Johnson. And get this, they find Gardner Johnson when the Saints make a move for Honey Badger. Hey, I'll take that kid. What kid? Gardner Johnson? Man, if I'm Mickey Loomis, I'm looking at that going, I let that guy go. That guy's making $6 million now. It's a stroke of genius. Okay? You say that about the Eagles because that's the only team you scrutinize. No. Jets suck. Joe Douglas is doing a better job in the draft. Dallas does a pretty decent job. They overpay. They can't control themselves with falling in love with their talent. You never fall in love with your talent on your roster. You fall in like with it. Okay? Don't ever fall in love with players on your team. Fall in like. This is about building a 53-team roster, not about one side of the ball or one dude. This is not golf. You can't win a Super Bowl with one guy. You can in the NBA. Shit, you can't even do that in baseball. Look at the highest paid players in the sport of baseball. How come the Rays are always the ones killing teams? I mean, look at Machado, Tatis, and Soto in San Diego. What have they done so far? Made him a contender, put asses in the seats? Great. Has Bryce Harper delivered a World Series yet? No. Has Nolan Arenado? No. Highest paid baseball players, they don't deliver World Series titles. What about that Kansas City Royal team a couple years back that won the World Series? I mean, they had nobody on that team. Look at the Rays. What'd they start out? 9 wins in a row? They got a $60 million payroll. And they hammer teams in the American League East. They're efficient. Great scouting. Durham is wonderful for them in developing players. They don't go out. When a guy's contract is up, they get rid of his ass for draft picks because they're good at it. Stros are great too. You want to know why the Stros are good? The Stros are good because they brought the guy in there years ago from the Cardinal organization and they implemented the Cardinal way. There's a reason the Astros are in the position they're in. It's because of how they do business and developing on the farm. Think of that. That's right. So the Angels have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and have nothing to show for it. How's that possible? Because you don't develop. It's a roster. It's not about one guy. Whether or not Jalen Hurts gets better, it's not the point. Is your roster good enough to – that's why the 49ers are the favorites right now to win the NFC. Because their roster's better. And you know what the people in Philly on the radio keep saying? Who's playing quarterback? Has it mattered for them getting to the game at least? Has it mattered? Get this. They screw the quarterback position up more than you guys do. And they still get to those title games. They still get there. I mean, let's be candid. In 23 years, since 2000, you've landed on one quarterback that looks like he's going to be something. The rest of them, all the other 9 guys sucked. Foles is a funny thing to talk about because he's not a starter. He's kind of a substitute teacher guy. Do I think he's got to make a splash? No, he's got to make these draft choices pan out. Can you imagine if Howie was a better person in college personnel on how good he would be as a GM if he got this right ever? But because he doesn't, he should hang on the side of pro personnel. Hey, you know who else does this? The Rams. The Rams do this. They stay on that side of the personnel. Like, who have the Rams drafted in the last 7 years that you went like this? Holy shit. Cooper Kupp in the second round, probably, and Aaron Donald. But he was like 10, 12 years ago. And by the way, he was an undersized D lineman. Not very many people were looking at him going, he's 6 feet, he's 275. But outside of those 2 guys, in the last 15 years, really, the Rams? Rams get rid of all their draft choices. Go for hey, Rams suck last year, right? Would you take 2 years of sucking for a Super Bowl win? I would. That's what they looked at it as. Okay, we weren't good last year. Won a Super Bowl the year before. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. How many rookies do the Eagles need to draft? This year? They got 6 now. I'd like to have 11. If the Eagles get 11 picks, they might land on 2 starters. That would be a grand slam. That would be a grand slam for the Eagles. 2 starters, grand slam. Can you imagine doing this? Trading down, getting 2 starters in the draft, and you have Devin White. And after what you did a year ago with AJ, his 2-year run would be wonderful. Because he would have mixed draft picks, and you're hoping Davis steps up. Hey, that's a sad thing to say. I hope Davis steps up. I mean, even we were talking about Fletcher Cox's rookie year. Everyone saw he was good. No one sees this kid yet good. Okay? No one sees him good yet. "30 teams are better drafters than the Eagles. Only the Browns are worse." Well, Myles Garrett, Joe Thomas, Chubb. Can't get the quarterback position right. They haven't got the quarterback position right since they moved back from Baltimore. Or we're given the franchise back in Cleveland. They haven't gotten that position. Deshaun Watson's got to play. He obviously does. Browns can't get the quarterback right. That's the rest. I would say that they're pretty. I'd say the Browns are pretty decent. I would too, Tone. But that quarterback, man. How many? I think what I read a couple of years ago, they had like 37 quarterback changes. I mean, dude, the Manziels, the Tim Couches, all them guys, they were all bums. The Brandon Whedons of the world and all them kind of scrummy guys. Devin White played his rookie deal and showed he's worth top 5 linebacker money. If he was here, Eagles would not let him leave. Correct? He's the best interior linebacker in the National Football League. He's not worth the 30th pick? Dude, you're close to winning the Super Bowl. You're not in a rebuild. Hey, so you got no depth at tackle. Your linebacker core, I don't know, it's a bunch of dudes. And your safety position has question marks. Wouldn't you want a run stopper in the middle of that defense that's 25 years old, a 3-year captain in Tampa, where he won division titles and he won a Super Bowl and a conference championship? And by the way, blew your doors off 2 years ago. You wouldn't want that guy in the middle of your line, in your linebacking core. You would rather roll the dice on the Kobe Dean or some stiff at 30. That's not what your GM. Hey, some guys go, thank God Sills is not my GM. I'm not your GM. I'm telling you what your GM has done. I'm telling you what he has accomplished since he's been at the NovaCare Center and sitting in that building looking at personnel. It's not a good track record. He is great at making deals, getting draft picks, and pro personnel. There is no getting around it. Tone, maybe this is why you and I look at the game differently, and I'm glad you look at it this way. Fans, once again, getting married to a player and a draft pick. They can have Dean. Give me White. There's no conversation there with that, and he's right. I don't give a shit what the name is on the back of the jersey. It's the NFL, man. This is the NFL. Who cares? Here's the key. Always remember, if I can go cheaper and get better. And sometimes when you have an opportunity. So did you guys think it was too expensive to give $20 million to A.J. Brown? Did you think it was too much money? Not after what is he worth it? Did A.J. Brown deliver the goods? Yeah. He gave me a $20 million performance. And so far in his 25 years of age, Devin White has delivered as the best interior linebacker in the National Football League. But I'd rather take the guy, the Kobe Dean, because why? I drafted him in the 3rd round. Whatever. I'll move off that guy as quick as you could blink your eyes. Okay. I think this is important here, this next topic here. We're going to hit on it. And it's Howie Roseman and Jalen Hurts. They're business partners now. They're business partners. I'll explain. Hit the like button. Hour number 2. And just for the record, Devin White, you give him the 20. Buck sign and trade. You pick the 50-year option up. And then you worry about restructuring next year. Go get him. Go get him. Hour 2. Keep it here on the National Football Show.